Hello again, and welcome to our latest edition of Portal Season 2024, even though it is 2025. But you know what I mean? It has to do with the section of the year that it was. Maybe we should change the name, or maybe not. Anyway, my name is Jay Tate. I'm publisher / Commodore / owner at auburnsports.com, and this is a little series we do to try to get you up to date with what is going on in the football transfer portal, which was really popping at one point. It slowed down a little bit now, but now there's other things to talk about football related, and so we try to keep you up to date on that with an emphasis on getting to the point and not dragging things out. Before we start, though, let me drag it out for 10 seconds and say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it just makes me happy. Thank you for watching, of course, as always. The news today, the biggest news of the day, Roc Bellantoni is back on the Plains. He spent 2 years here in 2021 as an analyst, 2022 as an on-the-field coach, coaching Bucks and edge defenders, and then he went to FAU as the defensive coordinator. Now he's coming back. He's going to be part of DJ Durkin / Hugh Freeze's staff at Auburn beginning ASAFP. He's had kind of a tumultuous period of time here. FAU went through some tumult internally, and he was fired not for incompetence or anything, just because, you know, the seismic changes at FAU. Fired and then hired back, and then he left of his own volition. He was most recently, as of this morning, defensive coordinator at FAU, despite having been fired from that job like a month ago. And then he chose, hey, I'm going to come be a position assistant at Auburn because it's a much more stable situation. And my guess is he could probably make just about the same amount of money here as he did there. So Roc Bellantoni, really one of the truly, truly good guys, I think, in college football coaching. I've been covering Auburn since 1998, and I would say he's one of the, 2 or 3 just best men that I have known to coach at Auburn. Just a really, really nice guy, a very energetic guy, a lot of positive vibes coming out of him, and I think he's going to be a big plus. I think culturally it's a really nice fit. Now, he doesn't have a direct tie to DJ Durkin, and he doesn't seem to know Hugh all that well, but his reputation is just so good, Roc is, and he's been coaching college football since the 1999 season at a bunch of different places. He's worked his way up, man. He was down at Eastern Washington for a time. I think he started at Drake, so he's been all over the place. Again, it was good to see him be a coordinator. I was so proud of him and happy for him, and was talking to him back when that went down, and I didn't expect to cross paths with him again. Just kind of wished him well, and here he is coming back to Auburn. That's awesome. I think this is a really big thing for Auburn. Again, culturally, I think he's a great fit. I think he'll get along with these guys. He is a friendly, positive, energetic guy. The question's always going to be, what can Roc bring you on the recruiting trail? Because I don't necessarily think of him as a big-time recruiter, but he's done a lot of work in South Florida. And not that Auburn's been weak in Florida. They have not been. But I think he can give you some advantages, particularly in South Florida, that maybe Auburn doesn't have right now. For instance, in 2022, I really believe Auburn would have gotten Ruben Bain, the outstanding Buck, who went to Miami and has been a good player, an impact player there at Miami. I think he'd be at Auburn had Roc been retained from the Harsin to Freeze switch. But that didn't happen, and he went to FAU, and I think he grew as a man and grew as a coach. So I think that's going to be a big-time plus for Auburn. Looking at the coaching staff right now, as it stands, Roc Bellantoni, we slid him in there on the defensive side as the edge defensive ends guy. TJ Rushing, who you guys probably don't know, was an analyst here at Auburn last season, worked under Durkin at Texas A&M prior to that, and won a Super Bowl as a defensive back as a member of the Indianapolis Colts. Is going to be working with the star position. For me, that's like the same thing as nickel, but in Auburn parlance, in the parlance of our times, as Maud Lebowski would say, it is going to be called the star. So Roc just slides in there as a defensive line. He'll be working with Vontrell King-Williams. 2 guys. There's going to be a lot of volume and a lot of positivity from those 2 guys, I can assure you. So it's come together nicely. This is more or less the way it's going to stay. There were a couple guys here that I thought might be looking around, but they haven't really seen anything materialize on that tip just yet. So I think it's great to get a guy who's been at Auburn before, maybe had some ideas about things that weren't going great at that time, because, golly, there were a lot of things to talk about if you were talking about things that weren't going well under Harsin. And then coming back here, the staff at Auburn at this point is just such an incredibly different situation. Super, super positive. A lot of positive talk on the staff. They support each other in a way that I really haven't seen probably since the very early days of Tommy's time, Tuberville's time here at Auburn, when like Panunzio was here and John Lovett was here and Noel Manzoni. It was very, very collegial at that point, and I feel like it's that way now too. Now, some of you guys are like, hey, man, I don't really care if these guys get along or not. I don't want to win some football games. But the truth of the matter is that a big part of Auburn's ability to recruit well is that kids come in here, the kids that can see through bullshit, can look at the staff and say, this is a very happy place with guys who like to be together. And I think that's a big time plus. Maybe the kids don't necessarily value that as highly as they should, but I think the moms, the dads, the aunts, the uncles, the friends, the associates, I think older folks understand that that's a place where you want your kid to be, with people that are getting along, that are happy, that have a unified vision of what's going on. And I think Roc's going to be a really nice part of that. One name you don't see on here that you guys have been talking about, Tanner Burns. Couldn't exactly make sense of what was going on with Tanner Burns. It was just announced here within the last hour that he's going to be actually going to Texas State as the associate head coach / special teams coordinator, and he's also going to be a defensive assistant of some kind. And I find this absolutely fascinating because, there was this talk in the last week, maybe 5 days, that Tanner was going to be, getting a promotion. He wanted a new title. He had been special teams coordinator here last year. And honestly, those of us who watch the team a lot would say special teams were not very good last year. And we can blame the kicker situation. I don't want to give Alex too much trouble. He's sick, and I'm worried about him. I think we all are. But without him, the kicking was a mess, but really it went beyond that, right? The coverage teams had mistakes, a lot of penalties. The return team was not as good as I thought it would be, despite Malcolm busting his ass out there. So I thought he did kind of an average-ish job last year. And then he comes to the head coach and is like, hey, man, I need to have a title change. And I was just like, what is this guy doing? We've talked about this on the bunker. I've talked about this on the show. And now it kind of becomes clear what was going on, which was that he was adamant about moving up. And he was kind of trying to push his way a little bit here at Auburn. And then when he didn't get what he wanted or whatever, then he just bounced over to Texas State. So not hating on the guy. He's a younger person, younger coach, kind of making his way up in the college football world, and you've got to scratch and claw for every step forward, even if it's a half step forward. So he's going to get his chance to coach on the field, and he's also going to get a chance to be one of the 11 coaches that can go out and recruit off campus, which is an opportunity he was not going to have here at Auburn. You've already seen the 11-man roster for that function is already handled. So I think for him it's a step up because he's going to have more responsibility. It's going to be a little more coveted job, I guess. As far as the things he's going to be doing at Texas State, it's going to give him an opportunity to kind of prove his mettle a little bit more than he would have done this season at Auburn. But I just could never figure out what is he doing and what is he trying. Why does he feel like he has leverage in this situation? And I guess at the end of the day, the leverage that he had was that he had in his back pocket a chance to go to Texas State. So best of luck to Tanner Burns, a guy who's got a lot of passion and is a good dude too. Interestingly, Roc Bellantoni has coached special teams before, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Roc, in addition to being the edge coach, maybe pick up special teams as well. He's done it before, and Auburn special teams were actually pretty good under him, so I think that's something you should definitely be looking forward to in the future. So one quick note on the portal situation, Jeffemba, the former Auburn Tiger who played the last 2 years at Purdue, still deliberating and thinking about what his situation is going to be. As I mentioned on the show the other day, he's going to be 26 coming up in this season. In the 25 season, he'll be 26. It's kind of a tongue twister there, but there's a lot of chatter that kids that played in NAI or played in JUCO will have an extra year of eligibility. So technically, Jeffemba could, if he chose Auburn, could play the 26th season as a 27-year-old man. I don't know if that'd be good or bad, but he's still out there thinking about his situation and what's best for him. So, hey, man. It worked for Tanner Burns. Why wouldn't it work for Jeffemba? At that point, I'm going to wrap it up there, talking about Roc Bellantoni, getting some clarity finally on the Tanner Burns thing. I couldn't figure it out. It was just like, this is so weird. And then Jeffemba, a little update there. So I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Got a big basketball game tonight. The Auburn Tigers playing at Texas. nationally televised game that kicks off at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock for our friends in the Eastern time zone. And I think Auburn wins that game by 11 to 13, something like that. I think Auburn's just got more of everything. Not necessarily talent, though. Texas has got some really good players, but I think that when this push comes to shove, Auburn's going to have a better idea of what it wants to do to win the basketball game, and I don't know that Texas will do that. Appreciate you guys hanging with me. Again, if you like the content here, please consider subscribing to the channel. And let me know in the comments below what you think about Tanner Burns' situation and what you think about ROC Bellantoni coming back to Auburn. Check you guys later. Until then, I'm Jay Tate. Good day.